welcome to Book Nerd TV. Today we're going to discuss the amazing book Long Division by Kiese Laymon. This book I purchased about probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago, if I remember correctly. And I think I'd heard about it somewhere. I can't remember what the source was. But I thought, well, this sounds interesting. And, it's a local author. It's a Mississippi author. So let me go ahead and purchase the book. Usually, it does not take me 2 or 3 years later to read the book. I should have seen that might have been a portent of things to come. This book is a lot. And I mean that in the best way. But having read it only one time, I feel like there are a lot of things that I missed. I know there are a lot of things that I missed. And so Long Division is a book that I will have to read again and possibly again, because it is such a puzzle. I don't know if it was meant to be a puzzle. I don't know if that was maybe part of what Mr. Laymon was going for, but I certainly did. I had to struggle with this book, I'll be honest. When I first started to read this book, that was the first time I started to read the book. I maybe got through chapter 1 and I thought, this is not going to work for me. This is not going to work. However, I put it down for maybe 2 or 3, possibly 4 months. And then I came back to it, tried again to read it. It was again a no-go. I couldn't get into the book at that time. The third time I tried to read the book, this time I said, I don't care. I'm going to finish this book. I'm just gonna go through it. I'm just gonna keep on plowing through. And I am so glad I did, because the magic and the mystery really, for me, the magic and the mystery and the enchantment of the book really didn't hit me until maybe not quite, maybe one third of the way or so through the book. That's when the spell that he was casting seemed to work for me. So what is the story about, you ask? Well, the story is about, Long Division can be said to be about a lot of things, I feel. The story is about a young teenage boy named City. City is from Jackson, Mississippi, or lives in Jackson, Mississippi. And he travels, I think it's over a summer break, to his grandmother's house closer to the coast, and I can't remember if he actually named a city or created a city on the coast, but neither here nor there. So, but before, one of the keys to understanding this story is to understand that there is time travel in the story. There's a time tunnel, wormhole, door to the past, door to the future, but there is time travel contained within this book. As a consequence, the story for me really got convoluted, and I don't mean that in a bad way. One of the key plot devices in this story is time travel. Another plot device in this story is that the time travel involves 2 teenage boys named City. One City exists in 2013. The other City that we're introduced lives in 1983 or 1985, and I'm looking at my notes in case you're wondering what I'm doing. So there's a 2013 City and there's a 1985 City. 2013 City discovers a book or comes across a book called Long Division. So we're reading a book that's called Long Division. In the story, this teenage boy in 2013 discovers a book called Long Division. Okay. As he begins to read the book, 2013 City realizes that there is a city that is the protagonist of this book as well, but he lives in 1985. So the backdrop for this story is the 2013 City goes to a magnet school in Jackson. He and one of the other students are contestants in this sort of national, I don't believe it's quite a spelling bee, but it's where, the judges will give you a word. You have to use the word correctly in a sentence. I can't, again, remember if you have to spell the word or not. But so that's kind of the backdrop of the initial, of the opening of the story. So remember, there is a time tunnel in this story. It's very, for me, I don't want to say it was complex, but again, you have to pay attention to make sure that you know which city you're dealing with, because 2013 city is coming from a particular time and place, as is 1985 city, right? So there are technologies that exist in 2013 that didn't exist in 1985, and so worldviews are slightly different. Now, as a complete aside, I don't know that I've read a lot of fiction about teenage boys who are African American in the Southeast. I don't know that that's a thing that's a big genre out there. So, and the book is also written by a young man. Well, young man. I don't know how old Mr. Laymon is. And so for me, getting into this story written from a male perspective, to me, written from a male perspective about a teenage boy was interesting, and it took me a minute to kind of shift out of kind of the ways the narratives flow for me to get into this story and the way this story was set up. So that was the aside for that. It may have been pointless, but there you go. Anyway, back to the story. So 2013 city finds a book, Long Division, about 1985 city. And in the book, 1985 city travels from 1985 into the future. And he goes there at the request of his girlfriend, to help her kind of solve a mystery, or help her find a solution to something that she's seen, because she's gone into the future before. The young lady's name is Shayla. And so she's gone into the future before, and so she's come back having run across this issue or this mystery. And so she wants 1985 city to go with her to try to help her solve this problem, or find out this answer about what's happened in the future. So that's what the book is about. Our 2013 city is reading about 1985 city and Shayla Crump. Simultaneous to this, remember the backdrop of the word usage or spelling bee competition. I can't remember properly what it was, that's happening. And well, there's a lot that I don't want to, because if I tell you too much, I'm going to kind of spoil some of the plot devices, and I really don't want to do that. So I'm going to pull that back. Our 2013 city travels to his grandmother's hometown to stay with his grandmother. And having read this book, Long Division, about 1985 city and about the time tunnel that's across the street, in the woods across the street from his grandmother's house, he's like, hey, maybe I can go find out if that's a real thing. And he does. And so he goes across the street, and yes, there is a time tunnel. And so events sort of take off from there, because, and let's remember, at the same time, City's reading the book about 1985 City. 1985 City is traveling to 2013. I think it's 2013 or 2000. I could be wrong about what time, but he travels to the future in the 2000s. This 1985 City is also traveling back in time to 1964 at the request of one Miss Shayla Crump, again, to help her sort of figure something out from the past as well. Wrapped around this or a story that's kind of in the background, is the story about a missing teenage girl, young black teenage girl. So when 2013 City travels back to his grandmother's hometown, this young lady, Bays Shepherd, is missing. And so she lives in the neighborhood, and so 2013 City may have a vague recollection of her. If he didn't know her, he knew of her. So this young lady is missing, and so the news of this disappearance has reached all the way to Jackson, Mississippi, and so they've been reporting on it up there as well. So he goes to his grandmother's house, and in addition to the time tunnel situation, there's this sort of story in the background about this missing Bays Shepherd. And that's all I'm going to tell you about the mystery of bays, because it figures it figures throughout the entire book, and you've got to read it to appreciate the story that Mr. Laymon is telling. Please join me next week for part 2 of Long Division.